Welcome, Mama. My name is Sam, and I am a dedicated matrescence educator, a passionate advocate of motherhood, and a mom just like you. On this channel, we dive deep into the world of matrescence and explore all of the incredible yet often very challenging transitions of motherhood. I believe that you deserve to enjoy this. I believe that you deserve to be seen, and most importantly, I believe that you deserve to find yourself through motherhood instead of losing yourself to it. So hit that subscribe button and let's jump into today's topic of the 5 things I wish I would have done differently, knowing what I know now about matrescence. Before we get started, I have to say, I think first-time moms get a bad rep often for being over the top or worrying too much about the little things. And I don't know if that's necessarily fair. When you're a first-time mom, you don't know what the big things are and what the little things are. Everything feels big and important to you. And often moms with more kids or moms just further along in their motherhood journey can look at new moms and say, oh, poor girl, what? I would never care about that, or you shouldn't care about that. But these things matter and they are important to that person at that time. And in my experience, I don't think there's a world in which I ever would have not worried about those things. If I have a second kid, so many things I wouldn't worry about that I worried about before, but I had to experience it to understand what matters and what doesn't. And a lot of these things aren't about like the act of mothering, like feeding and wake windows and all of that stuff, which, spoiler alert, I think I would still care about. But I just want to make sure that none of this comes off as shaming. If you did care about these things or you didn't do these things, that's okay. Neither did I, and that's why we're here to talk about it. First, I would have slowed down and honored the season I was in. I wanted to jump back into everything. I felt like I was supposed to be out and about. I felt like I saw a lot of people who are traveling with their newborns and out doing things with their infants, and I was like, I should be doing that. And I those shoulds really got in my head. And I am a type A person. I'm an Enneagram 3 if you're an Enneagram person. So a lot of my sense of self and my sense of success is through achievement and being productive. And so I tried really hard to keep being productive. And I felt like that old standard of success really messed me up in those early days. I had a birth trauma that wasn't resolved for about 3 weeks. I ended up having to go in and have a small surgery to actually be able to start walking and moving again. My son had oral restrictions, which made everything hard. So we weren't sleeping and I was beyond frustrated and exhausted. And it just wasn't realistic for me to be doing all of those things I thought I should do or that I saw other people doing. I should have been laying down and letting my body rest when I could, and then maybe doing some light exercises or light movement when I could or when I felt like it, going for walks. But really, I put too much emphasis on getting back to normal, getting back to the way I was and looking like I wasn't fazed by what was going on when I was entirely fazed. I was beyond fazed by what was going on. But we have this veil over motherhood that we talk about a lot, that it's not supposed to look hard. It's supposed to be easy. And if it's hard for you, then you're the problem. When in reality, you've just gone through a traumatic experience of giving birth. Not maybe necessarily a negative one, but it is a trauma for your body. You've gone through the biggest hormonal shift in the human experience. For me, I wasn't sleeping. I had a baby who struggled to eat. I had a baby who was fussy a lot of the time because of his struggle to eat and his lack of sleep. And all of that together made things really hard for me. And that wasn't my fault, but I internalized it as that. And so I didn't let myself slow down. I pushed myself to keep going, and I wish I wouldn't have done that. This is a time where your body needs rest. Your mind needs rest. You are in this liminal space for a lot of us. For some people, getting out and about is exactly what they need. And I think in my second pregnancy, if I have a second, I would maybe get out a little bit more because I have a toddler and I feel more confident, and hopefully I'll have a better handle on like the tongue tie stuff because it's genetic and I'm sure it's going to happen again. But 2021, we weren't getting out much, and I held those expectations for myself that I shouldn't have. So that was a little bit of a ramble, but really, I just wish I would have slowed down and just soaked it in a little bit more and stopped feeling like I had to be on top of everything and I had to be super productive, and just lowered the expectations that I had for myself in that time frame, and even just shifted them to have different expectations and to redefine what success looked like for me and what productivity looked like for me in that season. Number 2, I would have asked and accepted help. I had this overwhelming sense of I'm supposed to do this by myself. I felt like I was the mom, I was the one who bared the weight of most of the responsibility. And I do think that's true to an extent. There are some things that only mom can do for baby. And a really interesting thing is that when we're pregnant, we get new oxytocin receptors in our brain in a specific location that makes it more challenging for us to calm down if baby's not calmed down. So if you ever had that moment in the middle of the night where your partner's trying to soothe your baby and you're like, I just have to go in because I can't calm down until they calm down. I know my husband would always be like, he's fine. And I'd say, but I'm not. So there is some truth to the fact that mom is necessary, or that primary caregiver is necessary. However, it doesn't need to be all or nothing. It doesn't need to be even 80-20, 80% mom, 20% everybody else. You can still have that help and still be a really wonderful mom. And sometimes, most of the time, asking for that help and accepting that help is what's going to make you a better mom, because you can then take care of yourself, you can be more rested, you can feel a little more at peace and be able to show up better for your family and just show up better for yourself. In my circumstance, I was the one who really wanted to be a mom. My husband could have taken or leaving, I don't know if that's how you'd say that, but he could take or leave being a father. And I really wanted to be a mom. And I felt like because of that, I needed to bear the burden of my choice. This was my choice, this is what I wanted. And that wasn't fair on me. He was active in that decision to have a child. He was the father. He loved our son. He could have done more than I allowed him to, but I felt like I needed to be the one to do that. And so that's something I would have gone back and let him do more. Also, didn't want anybody to feel as terrible as I did, because I knew how painful it was for me to be up all night with my baby. I knew how hard it was to be exhausted. I knew how frustrating it was for him to be crying and for me not to be able to do anything about it. And I didn't want anybody else to be in that position. But something that I now learned is that those people who maybe are coming in from the outside, like your loved ones, your friends, they get to leave. So they have those few hours or maybe a day or two of dealing with that, but then they get to go home and you don't. So being able to accept that help while they're there can really help ease a little bit of your pressure for at least a short amount of time. The important thing there is to show that gratitude and to appreciate that it is hard for them too. It's not like this fun vacation for them, and it's not like something you're entitled to, right? We're not entitled for anyone to help us. It's not their obligation. They're doing that like out of kindness or support, and we need to show that gratitude, in my opinion. But overall, I just felt a lot of shame and guilt for not being able to do this on my own, when in reality, we were not meant to do this alone. In societies all over the world, people actually move back in with their families when they have a kid, or their family moves in with them when they have a kid. My mom did come and stay with us for the first about 2 weeks, and then I was like, Mom, I need to be able to do this on my own, and I sent her home. And then I called her a few days later in tears, like, can you please come back? I don't even know if it was a few days. It might have been that same day. But for some reason, I just felt like I needed to do this on my own when you don't have to. And so there are places where you can get help even outside of your family if you don't have a supportive family or family nearby. I'm lucky to have my family about 2 hours away, and so next time, if we have a second kid, I've already talked to my mom about staying with us for the first month at least. I'm like, I have no shame. I need you. I want you here. It will make things so much easier. It'll make things so much better. Could I do it on my own? Sure. Would it make it a lot worse? Yes. And I don't want that. I want the best experience I can have. So Mom, please come here. If you don't have family nearby, there are things like postpartum doulas. And these are doulas who can come in and help care for your children after you've had a baby, and also care for you. They can help prepare bottles and change sheets and rock baby. They can do day shifts, they can do night shifts, they can do both. A friend of mine, Emily, is a postpartum doula, and I will link her information down below so you can kind of see what that's more about. But I didn't know that was a thing, and it's something that I will definitely be exploring when and if we have a second. And also, when someone offers help, take them up on it. If someone didn't mean to offer help to you, or if they didn't mean their offer, they won't show up when you ask for that help. But if someone says, let me know if you need anything, let me know if you want me to come over and hold baby, and you reach out and ask them, hey, I know you said if I need anything, would you be willing to like help me throw together a meal? Would you be able to go pick up my groceries? Would you be able to come and hold baby for an hour? If they didn't mean that offer, they will say no. Or they will come over and do that thing. Even if they didn't mean it, they'll at least be there for you. Overall though, I will definitely ask for more help next time around. Number 3, I wish I would have embraced the change in me. As I said in my last video, I really felt like I wasn't supposed to change in motherhood. I think there's a lot of rhetoric around this, like the bounce back mentality, and like I got a lot of comments of don't lose yourself in motherhood. Don't become just another mom Instagram account. I have a small Instagram account, but I still got that comment. The comments like, you're still yourself, you're just pregnant, or you're still yourself, you just have a baby now, when I didn't feel like myself. And expecting myself to show up as this version of myself that no longer existed was exhausting. It was like, okay, just go and be Sam. And then I'd go and I'd be this new Sam, and it was like, why can't you just go back to the way you were? Why can't you just get it together? Why can't you just be yourself? When in reality, I was myself. I was just a new version of myself that I didn't allow myself to accept. That made me feel like something was wrong with me. And it was just frustrating and exhausting. Wish I would have allowed myself to see the ways that I had changed and say goodbye to those old parts of me. I wish I could have just let that old version of myself go and say, you served me well. I love you. I know you're still there somewhere, but I'm not you right now. Or as Taylor Swift would say, which little teaser for the next video, but as Taylor Swift would say, the old Sam can't come to the phone right now. And maybe she's not dead, but she's just not here right now. And then allowed myself to get clear about what I valued and who I wanted to be in this season so that I could show up authentically, because it's really hard to show up as yourself when you don't know who you are anymore. So I would have allowed myself to change. I would have acknowledged that change, and I would have embraced it and allowed myself to move forward. Which leads me perfectly into number 4. I wish I would have hired a matrescence coach or supporter. My postpartum period, like I've talked about a bunch of times, it was hard. I lost my sense of self, and my therapist was like, maybe you have postpartum anxiety or postpartum depression. But I've had anxiety and depression for most of my adult life, and I was like, this doesn't feel like that. Like, I know what that feels like, and that's not this. My husband was struggling right alongside me and couldn't really help me. And my mom was just like, this doesn't feel normal, or like, you don't have to feel this way. And I was like, okay, well then how am I supposed to feel? I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. And so I remember Googling a postpartum coach or a motherhood coach, and all I got was like breastfeeding consultants, which are important, but not what I was looking for, or sleep consultants, which I did use and were very helpful, but not for taking care of me. And it wasn't until I learned about the term matrescence when my son was about 18 months old that I learned about matrescence coaches and supporters. And what a matrescence coach can do is help you to navigate the changes that are going on within you, to help you acknowledge the way you're feeling. And there's someone you can bring those feelings of maybe shame, grief, guilt, all those feelings that we keep hidden away and feel like we're not supposed to feel. You can bring that to your coach, and they can help you navigate through that and help you accept those feelings and normalize those feelings, and then can help you to evolve and change and grow through the experience. And that's what I really needed. And so that's why I have gone through a matrescence educator course and went through the seasons of matrescence. And definitely in my postpartum experience next time, I will be working with someone to help me navigate that transition. And number 5, I always seem to end on these like bummers, but number 5, I wish I would have accepted my circumstance. I grieved my postpartum experience for a long time, and if I'm being honest, I still do. It was so hard and different from what I expected. My son had his oral restrictions, which made things very challenging for the first 2 months of his life. I didn't know what was wrong. I just knew something was wrong, and that made things so frustrating and tiring and just really undermined my sense of self as a mom. Also, my son was born in April of 2021, so we were still not super social, and we didn't really see a lot of people because we were so nervous about him getting sick. So that was a whole other circumstance I never would have expected. I had a birth injury that I didn't expect that kept me in a chair for the first 3 weeks, and like I talked about in point 1, I didn't expect that, and it was really frustrating to not be able to like at least walk up and down the stairs. And number 4, my mental health was a struggle. The lack of sleep really got to me, and I didn't anticipate the level of anxiety that it gave me. I don't think it was postpartum anxiety. I think it was just that hormonal shift as well as the actual circumstances. But my mental health wasn't as good as I would hope it would be. I was so sad I didn't get to have a pleasant postpartum experience, let alone the blissful one that society has painted my whole life. Getting to the point of acceptance is really important for me. I am working through it constantly with my therapist and with my Matrescence support group, but it really was hard for me to just come to terms with that. I can't get that time back. I can't go back and have a blissful experience. I can't go back and have a positive experience. I just have to accept it, what it was. And there were wonderful moments. And I wish I would have had different expectations. But again, like my disclaimer at the beginning of the video, I don't know if that's possible. It's one of those things where you can't know what to expect until it happens. You don't know who your baby's going to be. Your baby is an individual. Your baby is a human, and they're going to show up in the world how they're going to show up in the world. And that's the main reason why I feel like acceptance is so important, is my son is who he is. He was meant for me and I was meant for him. And that means that I accept him fully. And my experience was what it was because of who he was. And I wouldn't change that for anything. And so getting to a place where I can say, it is what it is. I learned so much through it. I wouldn't be here like doing this video if it weren't for that experience. So coming to terms with that has been really important. And again, it's something I'm still working through, but I wish I would have been able to do that sooner instead of just being so devastated that it wasn't what I expected. So those are the 5 things I wish I would have done differently in my postpartum experience, knowing what I know now about Matrescence. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. If you want more information on Matrescence and what I do, you can head to welcome-mama.com. You'll also find all my social media there, as well as some free resources. Thank you again for being here, and welcome, Mama. You deserve to enjoy this.